In times of surrender, I am shedding my scars. I was sick, but I was.
So this is a weird ROM from Katatonia. So, starting off, if you haven't already checked my channel, I've only recently gotten into Katatonia and discovered them on their newest album that came out in 2025. I enjoyed that album. I liked the atmosphere of the album, the mood, the vibe, the way that they structured and built the song. Just songwriting was great. The guitar melodies, leads and everything. Really enjoyed it. Therefore I went back to Sky Void of Stars. Listened to that yet again, really impressed with the guitar solos that were there, the more kind of like energy of it, but still the moodiness, the vibe, the vocals, vocal melodies. Really enjoyed that. So now I'm coming back on to City Burials. Now, the weird thing with City Burials is you kind of need to know some information about it before kind of just going into it. And you need to also know where the band also came from. So for those who don't know, Katatonia started off as doom metal, doing growling vocals. I believe that was on the first two albums. And then they went more towards clean vocals. Over the course of time, the clean vocals got much better. They went to still basically being very doomy, dark sounding. And then they started getting more involved into kind of rock, metal, prog rock, prog metal, gothic kind of nature, and just basically heavy riffs. They didn't really do anything in the way of solo work. And that is until they basically hit 2016. 2016, they picked up a lead guitarist who was known for being really technical, very proficient on the guitar. And therefore they decided, even though we've not really leaned into anything like guitar lead driven, basically just going with atmosphere and heavy riffs and that basically be it, we can't really have this guitarist who's that skilled and not utilize him. So the 2016 album Fall of Hearts was already made and done, but they basically just had the guitarist go into what was done and put some leads on there and some solos, just to basically show what he's capable of and just bring some more variation to that album. I have skimmed through that album once, really enjoyed it, just like Sky Void of Stars, just like the 2025 album, the Nightmares Extensions of the Waking State. Just a lot more guitar leading orientated, moody, atmospheric. The vocals, even though they're not anything overly powerful, even though it's prog, where in prog you usually get soaring highs and melodies and the deep vocals, many octaves that are able to be reached. The singer doesn't really do that. It's just he works with atmosphere. His atmosphere is dark and moody, and he basically has gold standard perfected this style, and therefore his voice is just insanely perfect at this style. It's perfect. He nails it so well. He's perfected the craft so well. His voice, I've heard little clips from the beginning, and nowhere near as good as it is now. He really seems to focus on vocal melodies and really honing the voice that he has for this. And he's just perfected it. But after 2016's album Fall of Hearts, the band actually took a hiatus. It was an indefinite hiatus. People didn't really know when they would come back, but 4 years later, City Burials came out. Not a long hiatus, so what was the point? And why is City Burials so interesting? Well, the fact of the matter is, the lead vocalist basically wrote this entire thing himself. That's not really that much far off Sky Void of Stars, as well as the Nightmares as Extensions of the Waking State. The lead vocalist pretty much writes mostly everything. But the difference with City Burials was he was basically going for a lead solo album. So all these 11 tracks, 12 if you get the bonus track, but it's just a cover, so it's pretty much just 11 tracks. Album came out 2020. He just wrote it for himself. He wrote it using a lot of synths and keys, and that was all 11 tracks. All written, all done, all the synths done for it, all the keys, and it was purely just for him. But after that, he thought, you know what? This could be a Katatonia album. So he basically just sent what he'd done to the band and said, well, seeing that Katatonia is a band where there's a drummer, a bassist, and 2 guitarists now, just, you know, put your stuff on it and then we'll just call it there. So while previously it was basically the lead vocalist, even though he does majority of the writing, he is writing it with a band in mind. So all the melodies and the atmospheric sections or musical interludes and soloing and riffing and everything, he is writing with that stuff in mind. But this entire album didn't have that in mind at all. It was never considered to have any guitars or drums or bass or anything on it. It was just void of it. So there was no work going into it. It was basically just them just slapping themselves into the album and called it right then and there. And that's the weirdness with the album. So I come from basically listening to heavy metal. I think most people who listen to Katatonia come from a kind of rock, metal kind of background. And with that, you usually get a full band. Majority of this album, even though the band has been put in, is basically synth driven. Fans know this as the synth album or just the lead singer's solo album. That isn't what this album's known as, and it does get some flack. There are people who do appreciate it, obviously. Katatonia has changed their sound quite frequently, so they picked up loads of different people from different styles of what they're looking for throughout their years of being a band. Since they started in 1991, they've been around for a bit. Shifting style, so some people appreciate this, but for me, I see it as basically what 30 Seconds to Mars did. They started as like an emo-y kind of punk rock kind of band, and now it's basically just a vocalist and a drummer, and then the rest of the music, not that it's music, is synths and keys, just computer, and that's it. The band Sleep Token as well, which I really hate, is mostly just vocals. It is basically just the vocalist just showing himself off, and as far as the band goes, they're not really there or important in the slightest. They're just there to basically just support the vocalist, really don't try and outperform or outshadow the guy, and that is basically it. I said this is pretty pop orientated. Pop music these days doesn't really have any instruments in it whatsoever. It is all basically done on the computer with digital effects, or just looping the same thing over and over and over again for the course of the song, and even samples of shit that's just already on the computer. Then they just pick a sample they like, and then they just put the vocals over the top. That's all it is. So most of City Burials is computer synth stuff and vocals. Really not that far off of what pop is these days, which is kind of disappointing. The only thing is basically pop, they use a lot of auto-tune, so the actual musician, if you can call them a musician, where it's basically like the only thing is the actual singing, and that is what it's sorely working on, and they can't even do that right because they need auto-tune. It's shocking. At least with this, that's not really the case. So, good job, Katatonia, I guess? But yeah, first listen to this, it was like, I found the vocals so infectious and such great melodies, which have been stuck in my head all day. I just keep thinking about them. I go to bed thinking about these melodies and patterns that these songs have done. And I was excited going into Little Burials, even after hearing what people have kind of said, but I wanted to go in with my own opinion. Sometimes there is a wide opinion of an album, and I completely disagree. Like the new album, The Nightmares as Extension of the Waking State, from what I've seen, most people find that kind of boring. I adore that album because it's so guitar-orientated. I don't know what people's problems are. So, I'll say it's subjective, really. Especially Katatonia, as I mentioned, doing all sorts of styles over the year, but yeah, I was excited, I went in, I heard it, I thought, nope. And I jumped immediately, actually, to The Fall of Hearts, just to see if it was similar or better. Gave it a one listen. It was great. Didn't have a problem with it. So to kind of go through it to explain it, Hearts Set to Divide is a big slow burn before the song actually starts. So what is the slow burn? What is the slow, overlonged intro? Vocals, and, well, you can probably guess, it's synths and keys for quite a while. And then the band does, luckily, eventually come in. There's some pinch harmonics, actually, in there, which is quite nice. Decent riffs and everything, good vocals, chorus is pretty decent. I said the fact that it was written for his voice solely, then it, as far as vocals go, he is pretty powerful on this album, showing a far kind of bigger range than he kind of has done. So there is that, no doubt. But as I said, the intro is so void of nothing, it takes a while to kind of pick up. I say Katatonia is based in atmosphere, so songs can be slow. There's kind of music behind it and a warmth, but with it being so synth-driven, it just seems so void, so empty, and insanely cold. It's not really that pleasing to hear. So the midsection with the band coming in really kind of pull it back and save it a little, but it's just lacking energy because, as I said, it's not built with a band in mind. It's built around synths. So even with the music kind of being there, it's lacking energy, creativity, fun. Even their own atmosphere, they're kind of just there, really in the background, sounding really void of emotion. It's just so cold. The song also kind of abruptly ends, doesn't really kind of have a build or a payoff at all or anything. But again, due to the writing, why would it? Behind the Blood is actually quite a shift. It's actually very surprising. The song immediately starts with shred guitar solo. Immediately. More so than what you actually find on Sky Void of Stars or the Nightmares Extensions of the Waking State, where the solos are kind of incorporated into the song structure and everything, and with the mood and everything of the songs. I said Behind the Blood, the solo is just in your face. It's not incorporated in there. It doesn't flow with it. It's just in your face, aggressive solo. And then it goes into an 80s kind of metal riff, which again for Katatonia is a little weird. The vocals over the verse is very well done. Before the chorus even actually hits for the first time, there's yet again another bloomin' shred solo, just completely out of left field. So two ridiculous shreddy solos, good vocal verse, very grounded in 80s, I like 80s metal. As I say, it's just a bit different to Katatonia, but Katatonia do experiment quite frequently, and I'm not really going to knock them for doing that, because if you're a musician, a songwriter, and everything, then you're supposed to be creative, not just kind of be like, I'm a musician and a songwriter, and I'm doing the same thing over and over and over again, and I've been at it for 50 years. To me, that just sounds like a really shit musician, personally. Maybe you disagree and think, oh my god, they've nailed it. But for me, lazy. So the chorus is big, real catchy. It's probably the catchiest chorus of the whole album. Not exactly up to the levels of Sky Void of Stars, but it comes pretty close. The third track, Lacquer. This is actually the first single of the album, which was an interesting choice because it's so vastly different and lacks most of the band, Katatonia. So it was an interesting single, but maybe it was basically just done because it's the representation of what this album was and where it technically was born from, because the band isn't in this song. It's over 4 minutes, there is no band. And when I mean no band, I mean no band. There is no drums, there is no bass, there are no guitars, ever. It is pure synth, pure keys, and nothing but vocals. The vocalist is the only part of Katatonia throughout this entire 4-minute song. It's weird. The first time I heard it, I was kind of annoyed. And the fact that it's going for 4 minutes, there is no music. Where is it? Where's all the creativity and the musicianship? I am guitar first. I love my guitar solos and guitar leads, and then I'm more kind of interested in vocals as secondary, as well as all the song structuring and being unique. So the fact that there is no guitars is massively disappointing. I said, the more time I've had with it, I've gotten more kind of used and accustomed to it, because it's probably the best show of his vocals. Like, it's a whole song stripped back, purely his voice has to carry the whole thing. So, as far as his voice goes, if you really enjoy it and everything, it is a great solo, you could explain it as, work from him. And as I say, it's very good. It goes through shifts and turns and everything. He puts some effects on there and things to give a different kind of vibe. He goes places which he hasn't really previously gone. So I like the attempt and the kind of really showing off what he can do. I can appreciate it for that at least. But musically it is massively missing. Rain, the band are there, but the tone is so cold. I said there's no warmth to the guitars or anything. It's still kind of going with that kind of synth vibe, which is what the album originally in its creation kind of had. So the band members have gone for a very cold sound. There is no warmth, no grit, no aggression, there's nothing. So even though they're kind of there, it's like they're not really present. It's cold. The chorus is quite nice, but seems kind of disjointed. The Winter of Our Passing is pretty decent, doesn't do much. Vanishes has a female vocalist that sings with the main vocalist of Katatonia. At points, they work quite well together. It's something different. Again, it's kind of slow. Musically, not much there. City Glaciers, pretty nice. Flicker has a synth interlude section, which is annoying because you have a great guitarist. So I don't know why. Lachesis, however you pronounce that. That's a song which lasts kind of like a minute or something. It's weird that it's so short. So I don't really know what the point of it is. Neon Epitaph is a bit more upbeat. Finally something upbeat to bring a bit of life to this album, which has just been slow, cold and drab. So, perks it up. I like it. Decent song. Untrodden, second guitar solo, which is ridiculous. But it's a good solo, it's a really good solo. Therefore, it really kind of supports the song, it's a bit more of a standout. And then you go on to the bonus song, Fighters, which is a cover, which also actually has a solo which takes you to 3 solos. And I said that's the album of City Burials. I said it's weird seeing that they had such a good guitarist and then they had him go back on the album Fall of Hearts to show him, like, oh, we've got this great guitarist, we need to utilise him. And then when it came to City Burials, they didn't utilise him or really any of the other band members. It's like when they were in the studio, the vocalist was like, okay, I'll be in the studio doing this album, and the rest of the band, who were also Katatonia, you stay in the hall and you do your stuff there, but I'll be in the studio. It's just like there's such an afterthought, and so just outside this album. I said Untrodden, the solo's kind of there, but I said the rest of the song, it's really cold. Behind the Blood kind of sounds like the band is actually there, but again, because it's 80s, it's not really Katatonia, but again, this wasn't originally supposed to be a Katatonia album. It was made as a solo piece. So it's so unbelievably weird. It's so odd. Is that if you're a Katatonia fan and you don't really care for guitars or music, I guess, and just care about vocals, it works. If you really like his vocals, then yep, he shows them off really good for this whole album, because it's mostly him supporting the whole thing, because no one else really is at all. It's alright. That's as much as I can really say. I said I much enjoyed after I gave this a listen and going, God, I need to listen to this again and again and again, so I can review it, and I need to, know these songs and all that. I didn't want to. It took me about 3 attempts to actually get through the bloody album the first time, and then I just jumped to Full of Hearts, like, oh please, maybe I had this band wrong the entire time, and I was just kind of getting excited over nothing. Maybe it's not as good as I thought. So I went back to Fall of Hearts thinking, have I been wrong this whole time? But as I said, Fall of Hearts, I was like, yeah, this is kind of what I was expecting. I'm enjoying this album. So, yeah, I think this was just a really weird thing that they did. Really missed. I said most of the fans seem in agreement, but it has its supporters. So yeah, that's this album. I'm glad I got it out the way. As I said, there's some decent tracks on there. As I said, there's the song that really shows off the vocals, but outside of that, there's not really much to this album, really. So I would stick with Nightmares as extensions of The Waking State, as well as Sky Void of Stars, and then most likely Fall of Hearts, but I do need to give that more of a listen. And then before that, I'm probably going to be at the end of Katatonia, just because that other album, Fall of Hearts, is the introduction of the guitarist that brought solos to Katatonia. So I'll probably just kind of feel like it's really missing and void in the previous stuff. So I probably won't really appreciate it. Hopefully going forward, Katatonia keep going with the guitar-driven stuff and showing off the talent of guitarists and keep going in that direction. I really hope, because I have really enjoyed the 2 albums, as well as what I did hear of Fall of Hearts. But I said I'm going to do Fall of Hearts, and then after that I'm going to move on to Sown, which is a band similar to this, and go through their recent catalogue as well, which are kind of like Katatonia, which is their most recent album. They've done solos, but before a certain time period. Similar to Katatonia, I actually think, as well, which is weird. They really follow close together. They didn't really do any solos, so that'll be where I'm going after that. So until then, I'll see you later.